Once again, the first pick for Team Face Check, and we have CE with the pick on the map here. So Inferno Shrines is going to change things quite a bit, of course, but I was really impressed by Team Face Check on the last map.
Yeah.
And again, I have to also emphasize, if you're CE, do me a favor and stop drafting Greymane for Shy. I'm really not sold. Every single time, without exception, when he's on Greymane, he's first blood. Every time. And he died 3 times in the early game.
Sure.
And I really think put him on a ranged carry. He looks so much better when he plays any of the range carries here, but his engagements with Greymane are always exploited. And they specifically started to target him after that.
Yeah, I think it got better after that one team fight in the top right corner where he literally just hung out in the back, but I do wonder if that was because Tyrael holy grounded and literally just served that up on a platter.
And because Rhaegar was basically sitting there as like, okay, I know how to Ancestral now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what they can go into. It's a question of how deep does his hero pool go.
I'm absolutely certain that he has more heroes to play. I just feel, for me, it's one of these things where I say Greymane is a great choice from a meta perspective, but I would way more see him on a range damage dealer because I think his style fits with the team in more. It's not really about what he can perform with on his team, since they are probably way more on the page of his own playstyle, but if he plays in CE as a substitute player, I think his range carry style fits way more how they are approaching the game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to allude to. The fact that it's not just Shy. It's what does Shy play that fits within the compositions that the rest of the team has been drafting and playing and practicing with. That's an important point for them. So we'll have to see if there is other things for Shy, but already having Suyu as another ranged damage dealer does mean that they have to, like KTY played a lot of things like Cassia, Tychus. He sometimes would be the Tassadar player, but so far we've seen that be more on Suyu's side. So KTY seems to be more of a flex where sometimes he'll even flex into melees, and that may not be up Shy's cup of tea.
Oh, I can completely understand that, and I agree with you 100% there. I would just think that the team would then try and draft more into something that he's more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Put him on that Lunara. If you can't get Lunara, think about maybe playing him on a Vala. Just another range carry in addition to that. That might put you as a team a little bit outside of what you usually play, but it just feels that the amount of problems they have to get a Greymane composition together hurts them in the end, because that should have been a loss.
It's the needs of the many versus the needs of the one, right?
That's right. That certainly is here. Now, with you going through that entire spill, going over to CE right now, I want them to get Greymane because it's Infernal Shrines, but literally just going with the caveat of sit backwards, throw out your cocktail. That's all we need you to do to make sure to clear out these shrines. There are other options for CE to go into. They can open up the battleground. I mean, they have the Sylvanas comp, which could be decent on this battleground too. It's a little bit too all in my opinion, but I would love for them to get the Greymane here simply for how strong it is on shrines.
Yeah, Greymane definitely is one of the best heroes that you can draft here. There's no doubt about that. But they this time go into Uther, apparently really, first of all, respecting what happened on the side of Team Face Check in the last game, that Uther made so many plays for them. Even the turnaround fight that we saw at the end towards the bottom left was initiated by Uther just walking in fearlessly from the side and just getting a massive stun out that helped them so much lock these targets down. What I also like, though, is that first pick on Stitches. Stitches on this map, this was the map where Stitches started to be played with a focus on slam build, simply because you want to have the team fight pressure, the team fight damage, and you have that additional clear on the shrine itself.
Looking at the Stitches now and the fact that it's Team Face Check, I wonder if this is again a place where they will combo Stukov with their Stitches. They did it before. I actually haven't seen Kim play Malfurion in all of their regional, although prior to the original Eastern Clash when we saw them, they were playing some Malfurion there, so it is a possibility for them, but maybe not something that they feel as confident with. But definitely want something who can follow up with the hooks, especially since we know Team Face Check wants to, again, be counter-aggressing. After people go in, catch them off with a hook, and have someone to follow up. But they instead are going to take a different route. They get Rhaegar for the Ancestral and pair that with a Genji.
Part of me is kind of glad they didn't move into the Stukov, simply because I felt like they haven't practiced the Stitches hook into the silence right after for the Stukov. It kept being the silence would go out, hook would come in, and there was a lot of difference between where those two abilities were landing, which made it very difficult for them to get those kills. So I'm very happy to actually kind of see that Rhaegar. At least now they have a support that helps out with the wave clear and puts them in a spot where if they would like to actually contest shrines, they can with slam build and Rhaegar.
Also with Rhaegar, you have a poor man's stun with a totem just as a slow, especially if you
True.
spec into the Earthgrass totem on level 16. Granted, extremely late to really get the value that you want, but you have something where at least you have a little bit of synergy going. I would still love for them to add something else where they can really capitalize on a hook by stunning a target out than maybe in the last rotation here, but they have some tools, and I love that we now have Genji in this game, which allows Team Face Check to make a few plays.
Maybe a Kael'thas from Garnet Devil. He's played it before. We're looking at a Tychus ban from CE. Sort of an interesting one.
Yeah, Tychus being taken out. I mean, we
So
know the strength. We know the strengths of what Tychus can bring to this field, but that is a good point. We've seen the Cho'Gall in the past. With Ariel not being up here, I would probably not go towards it, but hey, we've seen crazier things in the past. The Tychus, though, does really help bolster that Shrines push, so it seems like a pretty safe ban here from CE. Team Face Check will answer back with the Arthas ban, so you gotta start thinking about possibly that Illidan coming in.
Yeah, Illidan, of course, once again, is going to be a hero that we have to watch out for. But before that happens, we have Tyrael taken and Greymane once again. So Greymane on the side of CE. But this time I like the setup that they're currently having a lot. Especially with Uther now being in their comp, it's going to be much harder for Team Face Check to try and control Greymane in these fights. They have a massive lack of lockdown if you compare the comp so far to what they played on the last map.
Yeah, if Greymane ever face checks Team Face Check, CE will be able to bring out the Divine Shield to keep him alive. So very solid counter drafting here, picking up that Uther.
Final 2 picks. Still waiting on the maybe warrior, maybe more of a melee assassin, if that's where TFC wants to go with it. For Virgil, Virgil's played a lot of Dahaka, and Dahaka won't be available to him now. And we've seen a lot of other picks from him in the past where he hasn't been able to have that. Ragnaros, maybe a possibility here.
Yeah, if you're looking at Team Face Check, like if I was looking at the drafts from past, Ragnaros and Falstad would be something you would pick up just to control the areas. But they're gonna grab the
Nice.
Sonya and the Kael'thas.
Oh,
Yeah.
so happy to see that Kael'thas.
The Kael'thas is going to be
Yeah.
amazing. Stitch's hook into Kael'thas Gravity Lapse. But also I have to say that now they have a lot more blow-up potential, and I have to agree with Tim. If CE ever face checks Team Face Check, then I think I'm going to face palm.
All the faces
I just
here.
face palmed.
Welcome to
She
our
did.
casting, Gilly.
I'm going back to NA.
And immediately the goofy laugh.
Stop. All right, so the
Gilly's just dying. She's just gone.
So question here, with CE on the right side, do they have enough dive to get in that KT? One of the things that they can fall apart to is if that backline is threatened pretty heavily. I think so with the Tyrael, Greymane, and Uther and Dahaka, but do you want to go a step further here and get an extra hero that can get in that backline?
I'm fine with them not doing it, to be honest. They have enough poke and enough clear already on the shrines, or they could add a bit more clear, I think. Greymane is going to be great for it. The Haka's already there.
Ooh, they brought the Sylph.
Okay, didn't really expect Sylvanas to come in, but by all means, a good silence can definitely hurt Kael'thas in particular, but the entire setup that is currently being run by Team Face Check. So if you get that momentum early on with this setup, Sylvanas can absolutely snowball it, playing a draft of old here.
Yeah, they've got great Shrine Clear already with Greymane. You add Sylvanas to that, Dahaka as well as the Global, who can either split soak and apply a lot of pressure, force Team Face Check's positioning, or then go to the Shrine, allow the rest of them to try to siege with Sylvanas even. They have a possibility of doing a lot of different things with this Sylvanas, and I'm excited to see we get a classic Chinese Sylvanas in this game number 2.
I'm happy about that too, especially since Sylvanas is not really a hero that we see too often in the European and the Western scene anymore. Every now and then she makes an appearance, but I love that we also now see her here at the Eastern Clash. And talking about the Clash, game number 2 starting up here on Infernal Shrines. To the left side, it's Team Face Check, the Taiwanese team with Stitches, Sonya, with Kael'thas, Rhaegar, and Genji.
On the right side, in the red, it's going to be CE as they show off their Uther, Dahaka, Tyrael, Greymane, and Sylvanas. Going to keep an eye on Zayu here. See how he handles the pressure, how could they move in, and of course out-rotate their opponents. What it's all about for Sylvanas, finding the small inches and pushing them forward.
Also, I want to see how Shai is adapting to the Greymane now. I've been criticizing him quite a bit for the play on the hero. I like him way more on the range damage dealer.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah, that kind of works. I mean, Wind is still alive, so he didn't fall here, but that was definitely a great opening from Team Face Check. Shy at this point, though, I want to see how he plays. If he can this time just stand back a little bit further and say, I don't have to be the first one to initiate. I can jump in just in the second approach.
What's funny to me about that hook is typically when you have a Sylvanas, they go to an off lane and they try to break down a turret. So that hook would just be completely whiffed in a normal Sylvanas matchup. But CE trying to get the surprise when Team FaceCheck heads to the middle lane and KT4 just lands the money hook. Solid play from him and a good read.
Also, level 1 talent here with the Dreadful Wake being used on the side of Sylvanas, so we are going to see that stand out a lot more aggressively in this game.
Oh, that's so scary, man. Offensive waves coming out for Sylvanas. If you ever misstep, you definitely will die later on. At 13, of course, you can get the double waves coming your way, but until then, every single time she applies that, she's gonna have to be careful.
Yeah, also completely brain fire here. That's actually the Mercenary Queen that we're seeing there. Completely misreading the talent at that point. But yeah, so we're gonna
Point still stands. You don't want to have aggressive waves ever from Sylvanas. Please stop doing that.
We have actually seen also in competitive play a few times a talent taken. I would have expected you, our wacky meta Care Bear, to welcome new talents here. You're disappointed him.
I know, man. That's what I'm here to do. Disappoint all throughout the Eastern Clash. CE, though, not disappointing in the fight as they're holding off against Team FaceCheck. Back and forth so far in the control. Now, I am kind of curious. What's going to happen here for CE? Are they going to attempt to fight on the Shrine, or are they going to ignore it and push a different lane? So far, they're ignoring it.
Yeah, if they push the different lanes, if they actually get camps and are able to push in with Sylvanas, that would work for them. And I think in the long run, that might be one of the ideas here. Keep Sylvanas on one of the off lanes, trying to delay the Shrines a little bit, and then move in. And right now, Sylvanas is at the bottom, but they are not really in a position where they can claim that camp yet.
Ooh, fancy trickery here from CE. So they showed Sylvanas and Greymane in the bottom, and then Greymane showed himself rotating up at the top, which pulled the rest of Team FaceCheck towards the middle lane, which allowed Sylvanas to push in the bottom. She's not going to get too much off of it, especially with Genji coming in for the rotation, but clever little trickery for them to try and get a slight advantage.
Yeah, Sylvanas was forced back by Genji as the rest of the team is still fighting over the Shrine. Sonya, of course, has a great presence here, and so is Garnet Devil in the back, just throwing out the bombs the entire time here. Shy attempting with the cocktail build to net a few minions for his own team. 25-13 at this point, but Garnet Devil, the one that's getting jumped immediately, and this is the kill. Kel'Thas is down, but Wind is also exploding here. Tyrael trying to get some extra damage in as the rest of the team is trying to keep Shy alive on Greymane.
Yeah, this is scary because Virgil is very healthy right now on that Sonya. If she starts spinning here and the drag does not connect or he's stunned from Uther, he's going to keep chasing, and he does. Paradise goes down as well as Uther. A total of 3 members falling for CE for the price of 1.
3 down at this point, and they only lost Kel'Thas. So at this point, the Arcane Punisher is taken, and they're going to attempt to push through the mid lane. Now, Sylvanas is getting some value at the bottom of the map, but already Genji is starting to make the rotation to face her.
So, Team FaceCheck will be in the middle, pushing in. Wind will be able to help slow that down with, of course, the Tyrael dropping down the Eldruin. They'll be fine, but Team FaceCheck taking a nice experience lead, breaking down the turrets and putting pressure on their opponent.
They got an entire wall out of the first Punisher here, and normally you see a few less structures spawn. But overall, they did a great job pushing through. Slightly inexperienced, nothing too crazy just yet. But it's definitely very reminiscent of what we have seen in game number 1. An early level lead for Team FaceCheck here, or at least a slight one. But C is really trying to do their best to negate it by utilizing Sylvanas as best as they can.
Yeah, that's a good call by Tyrael. Scouting out the marks being grabbed in the bottom left corner. He told CE, the rest of his teammates, to run to the top. They grab a turret and a half, and they need those turrets. They need to get the experience back. They also need not to get hooked. Luckily, Shy is able to bounce out.
Yeah, really good job by Shy here, making sure that he immediately uses his skills to jump twice and move out of the fight here. Interestingly enough, we haven't really seen any value gotten out of the Mercenary Queen as the level 1 talent on Sylvanas here. So I expect that to come into play a bit later.
Isn't it the story of Sylvanas, though? What value do you get out of her? And it's always, you're never getting any, and then suddenly she just ramps up if you win a team fight.
Now, there's one thing hating on a talent, Tim. There's a completely different story hating on one of my girls here, okay? So, calm down.
I didn't mean to, come at you in any way, shape, or form. I apologize on broadcast. I'm just dropping out a point that many see. It's a majority of people believe this.
Didn't hurt any feelings here, I forgive you. So, nah, but at this point, I feel like Sylvanas just heading into Quiver Talons on level 1 might have been the smarter choice so far. But if she now stays with the top lane and can maybe get some value out of that camp, that would really help. The team in itself could just decide that with 2 with 3 heroes, they are going to try and get some additional value out of it. So I don't really think it's necessarily a talent that you just spam out. There has to be a reason behind it, and that needs to be a timing where they are saying, on this map, we can push in with maybe a shaman camp or something else. And I think this is exactly what we're witnessing currently up at the top.
And this is where they look out too. With Shrine spawning on the bottom, they're able to push on the top. Zonia, though, moves in for the engage while Team FaceCheck brings a few members up. KT, all by his lonesome, will be able to clear out that Shrine on the bottom, but Win is here to contest. And that's actually kind of a scary matchup. KT, while he can help clear out the minions, if Turiel does all in him and dodges out the gravity lapse, KT can fall, so he's going to be careful here, dance around until a teammate shows up.
It's a lot about level 10 now as well, and talking 10, not only
Genji.
that, Genji barely getting out. Again, the hook hitting hard against Chai, but we have Dehaka now moving in too, and they are really starting to engage on the Shrine here. Already a lead for CE when it comes to the minion stacks. I actually expected Paradise to stay top and try and soak level 10, but they are all in on the fight now.
Yeah, I like this aggression here. When they got Genji low, they decided to go ahead and commit fully here, 22-11. They had to be careful not to fall, but Genji, dive in towers, get the kill, get the second one here with Dehaka falling.
Double kill, and that's 5 kills against 1. And, I mean, all jokes aside, I have to agree with you. So far, Sylvanas didn't really have an impact here. And in this game in particular, so far, Mercenary Lord as the, or Mercenary Queen as the level 1 talent, Sylvanas seems very much like one of these quick match picks where you just push the offlane the entire game and then claim you have most siege damage. That doesn't really look too useful. That they have actually taken 1 camp the entire game.
Yeah.
Haven't pushed with it. So it feels like this is a talent that right now doesn't give them anything. Really.
Yeah, that's one of those talents that you push the value that you are already keeping off of a mercenary camp by itself. Instead, though, you're putting a hero in that lane. The only one that I really like that talent, if you are actually looking for a legit case to pick it up, Vikings are always great. If you are legit wanting to pick up that talent, I think it'd be good on Haunted Mines with pushing with Sappers, but Haunted Mines is in a competitive pool, so good luck with that.
I think one of the few heroes that I really like it is definitely Vikings. You can get a lot out of that, especially when you're trying to split push the payload a bit. But talking about what's happening in this game right now, again, we have the initiation on a kill against Chai, but the Divine Shield was there. It was a good hook and gorge, and the isolation attempt was not
Big
bad.
arrow coming in.
But it was just with the Lure Fool dropping the Divine Shield. It's not enough to drop Greymane, so good disengage from CE.
Good disengage from CE, but they lose out on their keep wall on the bottom right side. So an odd spot for them to fully engage, and they'll go ahead and get their wall open on the bottom side, which is always scary, especially as you move into the late game here. CE at a spot where they're going to have to kind of Hail Mary in a team fight, it looks like. Get that signification, land a massive Welling Arrow, and have Greymane go to town.
Wind in trouble, and he is going to die. This is kill number 6 picked up by Team FaceCheck. They are heavily dominating the team fight. That reminds me of something.
Enlighten us.
Game 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They are devastating completely here, which means if trends continue going to late game, CE might turn it up.
Well, currently Shai is just desperately trying to get a kill, but KT4 just walks up, goes for the gorge. Here comes the silence though, and that allows Shai once again to move back. And Ancestral hits Stitches, but so does the Jack. Not of any consequence though, as Kim was able to heal him up to full health again. Just barely, by the way, because he was really running low on mana.
Well, Team FaceCheck will now be forced to pull on back and set up on the control of the mercenary camp. Shrine will be spawning relatively soon. It'll either be in the middle or the top side for both of our teams. So CE needs to put a game plan intact. And I would love for them to find that room, push in for a fort, get that Greymane right behind them. Maybe even get to a point where instead of putting Dehaka on the split pushing, have him be the anchor for a slight moment so your team can try and get pressure on a fort. You need the experience and you need to open the map.
Yeah, and also they're trying to get some Mercenary Queen value. Nope, just kidding. They take the camp and move away from it. We have at the top lane another camp being taken because we have FaceCheck putting additional pressure onto the top lane with their own Shaman camp. The lucky spot is that the Shrine spawning should actually activate around the time that we are having CE on level 13 talents. So they definitely have at least the opportunity to take a fight on even talents against their opponent to try and turn this game around.
Yeah, Shrine's actually here in the middle. And this is where I would love for Tyrael to sit on this left side, and Sylvanas and crew go to town on that top lane, push it in. They've lost every single Shrine already so far and haven't got much value off of it. Just try to grab something with Sylvanas. Get that map opened up here. Zayu's on the top left, Tyrael scouting out the bush. Great, this is what I wanted.
Yeah, another dagger would also be nice, but good anchoring from Tyrael, as you already pointed out. The top lane is now heavily pressured, so time is working in favor of CE, as they are starting to fight for the Shrine, picking up the first few already. There's the cleanse on Virgil with a Sonya, and we have Genji going deep into the back line, but this time Shy and Aloof Fool are ready for him.
Big arrow coming out in the back line to make sure there's no burst that comes out. Same time, the Win will have to use Sanification. Sonya will get dragged here. She's getting alone. She's going to be stunned and she's going to be killed.
Nice kill by CE here. Good coordination this time. The Ancestral hitting once again Stitches, keeping him alive. But Sonya, that was a different story here. Not even using the Divine Shield thus far. It was mostly about that silence that we saw with the Veiling Arrow. Great play here from CE in that last team fight. And they also, Cherry on top, get the fort up at the top lane. So they all of a sudden are very much back in this game.
That fight was much more clean there from CE. The silencing arrow, as you mentioned, was the pivotal moment for them. They got that back line hit, so no Flamestrike would follow up from this ward that came in, which allowed for the team to move in and get the kill on Sonya after a drag connected.
And now we're talking Sylvanas. This is the moment that you work for. When you play with the Sylvanas composition, disable that fort, try to get the max value out of the objective.
They'll have a total of 2 forts now, and suddenly CE, who were looking like they were on their last leg, are now ahead in terms of map control. They take out 2 forts, and they may be looking for a third.
They go to the bot lane. I really like the rotation here. After everyone on the side of Team FaceCheck committed to a defense in the middle, they at least get another entire wall at the bot lane, thanks to Sylvanas pushing quite quickly with the rest of the team. 6 kills against 2, still in favor of Team FaceCheck, but CE is starting to get a foothold in this game and is now opening the map up.
Yeah, don't forget, the slam down comes online for Stitches. A slow will come out, which will make it much harder for them to disengage, which allows Sonya to be much more effective. Also, KT can land those slam stakes.
Also, when we're talking about Garnet Devil, he always follows up these hooks. Every single time you see that gravity lapse there, so he does a great job with a follow-up to allow them to get potential picks. CE is always anchoring Tyrael in a way that he can move out and that he blocks hooks so that the rest of the team is safe. But it's definitely a really dangerous dance here that both teams are fighting, especially, of course, if one of those hooks connects with the backline targets.
For now, they're dancing around the hook. Shy sees Ostseeker, brings out the attack. Smite will also connect, even a Cursed Bullet being used. Doesn't mind using that. Nice little low cooldown. Be back in 30 seconds. While Dahaka is working on 16 on the top lane. CE will also hit it first here, looking for that benediction for Uther at 16, which again makes it harder for Genji.
And now with the early level 16 talent, this is where we could really see Mercenary Queen. You move to the bot lane with 4 to make sure that the Haka is top. You can always burrow down, and now you push in. You have the talent advantage, you have the Mercenary Camp, and you have Mercenary Queen as a talent to boost it even more. This is a great opportunity for them to force Team FaceCheck into a bad fight.
I do wonder if Dahaka can come in for the rotation. Will he come in for the bush on the back left side? Well, Sylvanas turns off that fort. So far, it's not looking like it. Sonya is applying as much pressure to him as possible. Could interrupt that burrow. 16 does hit, though, for Team FaceCheck.
Now, we have Sylvanas moving away from the Mercenary Camp the entire time in that fight. I'm not really a fan of the positioning here in Tsuyu. I think they could have gotten more out of it. Was aiming for the fountain, which is definitely something that I can agree with, but staying so far away that the camp doesn't even get the benefit from the talent seems a bit odd. They still get a bit of structural damage in, so that's definitely on the positive side, but when it comes to the Shrine, we're again talking about a fight on even talents, and they couldn't really use that small advantage window that they had when they grabbed the talent first.
TE deciding, do they want to have Dahaka just push in the top lane and threaten that keep, or do they want to move in for the fight? Win, scouting up the bush on the left side, looking for KT. But Gravity Lab's being used, though. I wouldn't mind them going for an engage.
At this point, it's just Shy poking away with the cocktail and attempting to get a few of those stacks. Dahaka is still up at the top, but he's going to burrow in very soon here. 16 versus 16, but here's the hook in the gorge against Sylvanas.
Luke coming in here using Benediction, has a Divine Shield, will use it on Syl, but Shy gets low on health. Sanctification will help out while Genji gets focused. Also, Stitches does fall.
Stitches goes down. Great Sanctification that was used here, and with the Divine Shield and the Wailing Arrow, they really turned this one around, but Sylvanas falls in the end after all. But Rhaegar is down. Only Sonya, scratch that. Only Kel'Thas is still alive, as we have CE with the remaining 4 heroes turning their attention to the Shrine, fighting for another Punisher.
Aloof and Wind need a ribbon, man. They definitely dominate in that team fight, keeping both Sylvanas and Greymane alive. Aloof was taking pressure from Sonya, but he didn't mind. He tanked through it to make sure he could save Syl.
Now, please don't grab the Punisher yet. Just go for the 39, wait for Sylvanas to be back, and make sure that you get the max value out of the situation here.
I like this too. They grab the Mercs on the top, get that pushing in, that threatens the keep, which forces one person on the top, which gets Sylvanas to get more pressure. I love it.
So in case that you're a little bit newer to Heroes of the Storm in the map, what they're currently trying to do is they leave one minion on the shrine and they can take that whenever they want. They know that Sylvanas is pivotal for them to get the maximum value out of the Punisher push. So they simply leave one minion, and as soon as Team FaceCheck says, hey, you haven't gotten the Punisher yet, and tries to move in, they can easily just go in themselves and drop one spell, grab the last minion, and then start pushing. But of course, they need to make sure that nobody dies in the meantime. That's the important part here. They're still on the retreat, they grab the Punisher, and now they want ideally to push in with 5. Looks like they get the chance.
Oh, and the Divine Shield's gonna miss. It lands on Tyrael instead, and he wants indication for another 5 more seconds. CE losing on Greymane will now walk away from the fight. This is chaos. It's horrible for them.
Yeah, but nice with the holy ground. Wind is saving Uther here. Really well done. The hook could connect, but in this case it was dodged. Now the Punisher already went through the fort. But the entire idea of delaying the shrine was to get Sylvanas back into play, to grab the mercenary camp at the top lane, and therefore pressure 2 lanes very heavily. And that whole idea is now down the drain.
Yeah.
Sylvanas is trying to at least salvage something here by moving top lane and empowering the camp even further, but the rotation to the top is now going to happen any moment as the Punisher was just defeated.
No, CE set up all the dominoes perfectly to lay them down and knock out their opponent, but Team FaceCheck comes in with the hook and flips the table.
That was literally when we had the Haka running it down mid. I mean, he absolutely overstepped, ran it down mid, died on the retreat, but they lost the hero on the retreat as they were trying to save him. And that kind of warped the entire plan.
Yeah, his entire team's playing dominoes, and he was playing javelin, man, just running in, trying to force a fight. All right, CE working on 20, half a level away. That is the good news. They're still ahead in experience. Getting to 20 can be helpful for them because Team FaceCheck, when they get that Ignore Pain, are going to be a threat.
The Haka could move in for a fight, but they're just trying to retreat here. He goes in after all. A little bit late to the party, but he is able to move out. As you said, ideally with the one level 20. Right now, if you're a Team CE, you do not want to fight. You know you're so close to level 20 talents that you are attempting to dodge every single fight, especially a 5 versus 5. You wait for your 20, and then you start dominating the map again. This is also why FaceCheck was so aggressive with that move to the bot lane. They know that they're on a clock here. They need to force that battle before their opponent reaches Storm Talons.
Team FaceCheck is giving me old Synergy vibes. They have great early game, great decent mid game where they force these fights, and they get to late game, and they seem to lose out on steam, make some odd macro decisions. Now, they've made a couple of decent good plays here with that hook in the middle in particular, but can they close out a series here against CE?
I really want to say that at this point it's going to be rough. I like what they did on 16, by the way. I haven't really pointed it out yet, but I talked about it in draft. Earthgrass totem taken for Rhaegar. So after hook, it's not only the gravity lapse, but also the totem that can be dropped to lock the target down even further. But as you said, can they really take a game of CE? It's going to be difficult because the big problem that they're facing is that CE is going to try and rush this shrine now. The faster they get the Punisher, the faster they can push in with ideally Sylvanas and a level 20 advantage. I think by that time, Team FaceCheck should have their own Storm Talons, but this should definitely be one of those moments where Sylvanas can come really show why she is a great hero on the map, because so far, I don't really feel she had the impact that they were hoping for.
Well, good play here from Team FaceCheck as they run down the middle lane, get the fort open, and as well the keep wall. This gives them a level 20. In fact, they can hang around here a little bit longer if they would like until CE responds.
They're trying to force it back, and that's already happening. So everybody except for Shy and Greymane is at the top. They want that keep, ideally. We already have on the side Uther. Now Tyrael is moving in too. Wants to use the holy ground. The keep is down. The question is, can they get out alive? And it already looks pretty grim, at least for Virgil, but he gets healed up again, and Greymane is not with the team. So this is a massive amount of value for Team FaceCheck. They get one keep for nothing.
I don't mind how they handled that, but it needed to be slightly quicker. They wanted to make sure they have that keep in the fight because it acts as the 5th man with Greymane not being there.
Yeah, and now we have the potential to engage before the Punisher even becomes an obstacle. They're going in, they're trying to force a fight. The Punisher is joining the fun. He's the party guy, and Kel'Thas is already down. Oh my god. FaceCheck had such a great call in the middle as they turned the keep down, but now they lose 2 heroes immediately. Isolation is being used. That makes it a triple. And right now, the top lane is assaulted with Sylvanas pushing in, the Punisher moving on to. This is looking grim for Team FaceCheck.
Yeah, this is looking like a game here. Unless somehow, some way, Sonya goes in for the engage, the Norpain being down, gets someone low, and Genji starts cleaning up. I don't see them holding this here. They're doing everything they can, though. They are bringing the Punisher towards the middle keep, but it doesn't fully commit. Finally, it does, but already on the core, Team FaceCheck has to defend CE.
Right now, the score just races down. This is going to be the 2-0s. TE takes it 50%, and still only Sonya and Genji trying to defend. This is game. Team FaceCheck losing it on Infernal Shrines, and CE takes the 2-0 lead.
That is the teamwork I have been waiting to see from CE all tournament long. They have some of the prettiest, most patient, most calculated team fights, maybe the most in all of the Chinese region. Yes, SPT can beat them in fights, but CE is the one team who is able to outsmart SPT in fights throughout Phase 2, and that was, oh my gosh, just, oh yeah. Let's actually just look at a replay of this. Man, this play was so good. Sylvanas is going to get gorged, and the Divine Shield that comes out to let her Wailing Arrow on top of Genji right as she comes out of this. And then the last second Sanctification from Wind was insane. This teamwork exhibited in this fight, and honestly in so many of the fights, allowed them to, even though they had this Sylvanas that didn't get a lot in the early game, make sure that they always had opportunities to come back in the game until they were able to take it.
I think that Divine Shield even missed, but who cares when you have 2 invulnerabilities? The Sanctification coming out at the last second, allowing for Greymane to turn around and force that fight. Also, Shy looking a little bit better at that game on that Greymane. Maybe a little bit overextended sometimes, but I think it was actually important for him to do so. He has to when you have a Sylvanas in your team. He's a damage dealer.
Wind in particular really stood out for me. His Sanctification saved the team so many times in these fights. And Holy Grounds as well. He saved Uther as they were retreating from their onslaught. It was just behind him, and that was really well done. So Wind with great play.
Yeah, even the play at the end with the Holy Ground that was able to stop a lot of people from running away after they had taken down that mid keep. And just like, even if the Divine Shield misses, right, the idea that they can have the kind of trust in each other, even with a replacement player, to know that Sylvanas can stay there, throw out the Wailing Arrow, make sure that they can get the kills, and get in and win that fight is incredibly impressive. That's the CE I wanted to see even at the mid-season brawl. I'm so glad we got to see it there.
Very impressive at how resilient they are. I mean, when you have a Sylvanas not getting value almost 10 minutes into the game, it almost feels like it's over. As a team, you start to feel a little bit deflated, but they turn it around, they make it happen. CE earning this 2-0.
Salvaging that situation was definitely not easy. But before we're heading into the third game, which comes up in just a bit, we're going to head into a quick commercial break. And when we're back, we have game number 3 between CE